Ultra series on the box, it says it's the furthest dart shooting blaster that Nerf makes. It shoots up to 120 feet, up to being a pretty key word there. In my testing, it doesn't shoot anywhere near that far, but they say the rival blasters shoot kind of far too. They're always a little over generous with the marketing, so let's dismiss that claim entirely and move on. See how, oh, there it cracked. Oh, and it cracked. Did you hear that?
How, oh, air cracked.
They aid in stability. In my testing, they are not very stable. They're not very accurate, but you know, that's might be tested off camera. These darts, these ultra darts, are not accurate. They don't shoot well at all. It's better than a Nerf Elite Dart, but damn near everything on the market is better than an Elite Dart because these are just garbage. I'm sorry, Elite Dart, you're trash. Stay in the corner with the deploy. That's where you belong. Now, I'm making fun of Elite Darts. They don't fly better than Rival. They don't even fly better than a stock Strife with waffle head darts. In my observation, the Ultra Darts were just wobbly, inconsistent. This Ultra One blaster shoots darts really inconsistently. That's not really the dart's fault, that's this blaster. If you pretend my hand is the barrel and that's locked, it wasn't locked, I was shooting by hand, not under a vise, but the Ultra Darts were shooting out at like a 15-degree difference. It wasn't shooting precisely, so I put the blame on the blaster, not the ammo, but even after it was launched, the darts aren't stable, and it surprises me. I don't understand what this line is actually supposed to fulfill.
But now to my personal opinion, which is pretty harsh, so that, like, brace yourself. After exhaustively testing the Nerf Ultra Darts and the Nerf Ultra Blaster, I don't understand why this was launched. I don't see the place for this blaster at all. It's advertised as a superior dart to the Elite Dart, and I guess it is, but everything is superior to the Elite Dart. The blaster isn't superior to Elite Blasters. It's pretty much the same drivetrain that's upsized a little bit for this new ammo. The flywheel system and mechanics, it's not revolutionary. It is pretty cool, and the design is pretty wonky. I mean, it's a strange blaster that's pretty fun, but it's not like a new blaster. The new thing is this dart. I don't see the appeal. I don't see any of my viewers saying, hey, I really need that, because it doesn't do anything really well. It's not compatible with Nerf Elite Blasters. It's not compatible with your magazines, with anything you currently own. This is completely new, just like a Mega Blaster is not compatible in any way with your existing Nerf stuff. I sort of take that back. These are standard in-strike tactical rails, so you can put your standard in-strike scopes and all your attachments and that stuff. But the expensive part of our hobby is the magazines, the darts, and the consumables. You break darts, you bash them, you have to buy new ones. These are pretty expensive. And getting to the harshest bit of my opinion, it seems like a pretty flagrant cash grab because the margins of Nerf darts are extremely high. Nerf makes a lot of money when they're selling ammo. So if they sell you a blaster that they are the only people in the world that can sell you ammo for, they can make a lot of money on the ammo. When you buy a Nerf Elite Blaster, you immediately go on Amazon, buy some little Valentine darts or some other waffle head darts because you can buy pretty much the same quality without the Nerf brand for much less money. But it seems like they engineered these darts specifically to make it very difficult to challenge. Nerf Elite darts are easy to replicate. They're all over the place. Nerf Rival rounds are actually very difficult to replicate. If you look at the quality control and the consistency of the Nerf Rival round, I still recommend people buy Nerf Rival, legitimate Nerf brand. When you buy off-brand, the consistency, some balls are super squishy and they're not consistent, they do not perform well. They more or less have the market on Nerf Rival, but they do not have the market on Nerf Elite darts. Nobody really buys Nerf Elite darts unless you don't know what you're doing. But the new Nerf Ultra darts are going to be very difficult to copy in manufacturing because of this weird proprietary back end. The off-brand manufacturers or even the third-party manufacturers that don't do anything except darts like Little Valentine or Raytheon, it's going to be very difficult for them to replicate the tail end of this because it's not going to be compatible unless it's very precisely manufactured just like this Ultra round. So I can't help but think it was built from the ground up just to corner the market on ammo to make more money. It's not a performance game. There's no real reason to use a Nerf Ultra Blaster except to spend money, and they want to make more money. And I get it, they're a corporation, it's their function on Earth to make money, that's what companies do. But as a consumer, as a Nerfer, as a creator that wants to be honest with you guys, I just don't see why anybody would buy this. This material, the Nerf foam, works. We know it works. You can step on it, my cats bite them, and they still fire. It's pretty robust because it has spring back. Styrofoam doesn't bend, it just breaks. So to me, it seems like a really strange material choice. And as you can see in the firing demo, there's not a performance gain. So as of now, I can't recommend you go out and buy a Nerf Ultra Blaster because I don't see the role that they fill. They aren't more accurate. They might shoot a little bit further than the Elite Blasters, but if you're after performance, buy a Rival Blaster like everybody already does. Rival rounds are relatively inexpensive. You can buy legitimate Nerf brand ammo on Amazon for pretty low cost. When they first launched, they were really expensive. Same with AccuStrike, same with all ammo. So I don't think we can judge Ultra cost based on the launching price. It's always a little more expensive until they start releasing the 100 or 200 packs on Amazon.
Let's watch that dart analysis video if you want to hear my beef with the Ultra series. However, my issue with the ammo is the trajectory. It's not precise. It's not accurate. You can't hit what you're aiming at. It doesn't matter to me if you can shoot, 100 feet instead of 60 feet. If you still can't hit anything, there's really no point in shooting that dart. But that's an issue with the dart itself, not the blaster, which I already discussed in my dart analysis video from last week. The trigger pull is pretty heavy, and there's a considerable amount of mechanical slop and mechanical just friction in the trigger pull. It doesn't feel very nice. It's okay if you're just firing a few dozen times, but if you're like me and you sit there and shoot a few hundred rounds, it gets a little exhausting. Moving on, over here is the access door. To get in here, you open up this flap like that. I had a number of malfunctions that I actually had to get my finger in there, so I'm glad the access door was there. And the primary trigger feels a little busy because you're rotating the cylinder and injecting the dart. It doesn't quite feel like a Strife. So it's a little busy, it's not as smooth, but it works just fine. However, this rev trigger is the worst rev trigger I've ever put my finger on. This is just awful. I shot about 800 to 1,000 rounds through this blaster for my testing procedure, and after the first 100 rounds, I had to set it down, and I had to keep setting it down and coming back to it because my hand was just getting so sore. This rev trigger is just awful. More on that in my opinion. And down to the grip, it's a smaller than average grip. This is not a super comfortable grip. This whole blaster feels a little weird. It works, the rev trigger just ruins the ergonomics completely, but the grip is acceptable if the rev trigger gets filed down. But other features like this really uncomfortable rev trigger and just these Ultra darts, kind of ruined the experience for me. But for jams and malfunctions, I had a number of malfunctions. They were very easy to clear and they weren't like total catastrophic like jams. But a number of times I pulled the trigger and it just seized up. The dart kind of got caught in the flywheel. So I opened up the access door, you just inch your finger in, push it back a little bit, spin the cylinder and refire, and it clears the jam very rapidly. But I had that kind of malfunction maybe 1 out of 20 or 30 shots, which is pretty frequent. But that's the only type of malfunction I had with this blaster, and it's pretty easy to fix. However, if you paid attention to the trajectory of the Ultra 2, it is just as bad as the Ultra 1. These darts do not get launched consistently. When I'm firing, some of them would be launched like 10 degrees off to the right, some of them to the left, like it was so hard to hit stuff. After the Ultra dart is launched, it is relatively stable. It doesn't fishtail quite as much as an Elite dart. However, if the ammo is not launched consistently, it doesn't matter how consistent the ammo is if the blaster is just shooting them out all over the place. So when you pull the trigger on a Strife, sometimes they shoot out left and right, but not nearly as wild as these Ultra blasters. So accuracy and performance and consistency, terrible. But just like the Ultra 1, I'm gonna blame the ammo, because these darts just, why? I don't support the Ultra series. I don't think you should buy an Ultra blaster, including this one, just because of these unnecessary, pointless darts that don't need to be in the universe. They contribute nothing.
Capacity of 8, only 5 slots. Huh? But a JPEG is the explanation for the entire Ultra series. Now down to the grip. As you can see, it looks like an Ultra grip, and now they've kind of defined what the Ultra standard is. And it's been defined, but in my opinion, it's just not a good grip. I don't think it's comfortable. I don't really like how these hold. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the Nerf Ultra 4 blaster.